Georgetown, Texas has been named the fastest growing city in America 2 years running by the U.S. Census Bureau. And most of the people driving that growth, retirees. But let me share something most real estate agents won't. Georgetown is not for everyone. Yes, it's an incredible place to retire, but for very specific type of personalities. Think fewer one more lap around the world type of people and more one more lap around the neighborhood at 6 a.m. invisible neon type of people. If you're not that type of person, moving here could be one of the most expensive mistakes you've ever made. Right up there with that timeshare you got sold in a state you've never been to. I'm Stuart Sutton. I've helped buyers and sellers in Georgetown, Texas for over 3 decades, which in real estate years means I've seen just about every version of we'll try it for a year. And it can go one of 2 ways. There are over 100,000 residents now, and half of whom I'm convinced showed up, went on a run to HEB with a family member, and never left. There's a certain type of person who absolutely thrives in Sun City, and it's a person who was terrified of retirement. You know, the one who spent 35 years in a career, had a full calendar every day of every week, knew everybody at the office and in their industry. When retirement came around, the thing that scared them the most wasn't the money. It was a question of what on earth are they going to do with their time? Tuesdays specifically have a way of becoming existential once there's no meeting to fill them. If that sounds like you or your spouse, Sun City might be the single best thing that ever happened to you. Here's why. Sun City is not just a neighborhood. It's a fully built social ecosystem. More clubs per capita than a college freshman orientation fair. There are over 145 clubs, special interest groups, and service organizations operating inside Sun City. Golf leagues, pickleball leagues, tennis courts, fitness centers, dance studio, lakeside amphitheater that actually hosts concerts, 12 miles of walking trails, 3 golf courses. I've helped buyers and sellers in Georgetown, Texas for over 3 decades. And what I see happen inside Sun City is unlike anything else in this market. People move in, and within 90 days, they don't wonder anymore what they're going to be doing because their social calendar is busier than when they were working, which can be either inspiring or slightly insulting to the old employer. A typical week for this type of person looks like this. Monday morning, pickleball, and then coffee with the group. Wednesday, a special interest club meeting. Friday night dinner at one of the community events. Saturday, their grandkids are visiting and they sign them up for junior camp. That last part is something most people don't know about Sun City. Sun City actually runs a camp program where grandkids can come visit and do golf, tennis, arts and crafts, basically a summer camp, except grandpa's the one dropping them off 3 doors down. It's one of those small details that tells you everything about what that kind of community is. It's built around the idea that your family life and your social life belong together. People who thrive here are not passive. They show up, they sign up, they introduce themselves, and Georgetown rewards that behavior with a depth of community connection that retirees tell me they just never expected. If you're someone who really needs people around you who will actually become involved in that infrastructure, who aren't afraid to walk up to a stranger and say hello, Georgetown, specifically Sun City, will absolutely not disappoint you. Now here's one that surprises people who haven't spent much time in Central Texas. If you're coming from, say, the Pacific Northwest or the Midwest, you might actually be moving to a place with better outdoor weather than you've ever lived in. Not in spite of Texas, but because of it. In Georgetown, Texas, temperatures run from about 39 degrees in the coldest part of the winter up to about 96 degrees in the height of the summer. And yes, we'll talk about summer heat in a moment because it does deserve its own honest conversation. And for some, maybe its own support group. But what that temperature range means in practice is that 10 to 11 months of the year, you can be outside doing something. If you've been living somewhere with 6 months of real winter when you're stuck inside, from November to April, for example, watching the driveway for signs of spring, the math here completely changes in your favor. The hiking trails, the San Gabriel River, the parks, the golf courses, the pickleball courts, they're genuinely usable for the overwhelming majority of the year. Georgetown has around 50 parks across the city. The regional trail system for cycling and walking is incredible. You can fish and boat on the San Gabriel. There's even an underground cave system called inner space caverns. It'll get you out of the sun on a hot day and into something genuinely fascinating. Possibly the only place in town where let's go somewhere cooler literally means underground. The person who loves this kind of life is someone who had a list of things they always wanted to do when they retired. In their old climate, winter was the enemy of all that. Georgetown takes that enemy largely off the board. I've had clients move from colder states who told me that they spent more time outside in the first 6 months in Georgetown than they had in the previous 2 years combined where they came from. And that's not an exaggeration. It's just what happens when you take an active person and give them 11 months of usable outdoor living. The outdoor retiree fits Georgetown very well. The caveat, and this does matter, is the summer. But we'll get into heat specifically with the seriousness it deserves. We'll talk about those who might struggle with it. But we absolutely love fall, winter, and spring in Georgetown, Texas. In the summers, unless you're out in direct sunshine, there's a lot of things you can do in the shade. And there's a lot of shade. And here's another type, the equity seller from a higher cost state. This is probably one of the most common profiles I see. You spent the last 20 to 30 years in a higher cost state. Your home has appreciated significantly. You're sitting on some serious equity. And you're asking yourself, what's the smartest thing to do with that money in retirement? When these buyers sit down with me, there's usually one number that changes everything. And it's not the home price, although that is a big deal because you get a lot of house for your money in Georgetown, Texas. It's the property tax structure, which I'll admit is not usually what gets people excited in the first meeting, but it should be. Texas has no state income tax. Now, I know some people tell me that doesn't compensate for the property taxes, but we'll cover that as well. So there's no tax on your pension, your Social Security, your investment withdrawals. None of it gets taxed at the state level. But the piece that most people from out of state don't really understand yet is what happens to property taxes when you turn 65. You see, in Texas, every homeowner gets a substantial homestead exemption from their school district taxable value. And when you turn 65, you get another substantial amount added on top of that. The combined school district tax exemption is $200,000. And then, this is the part that really matters, your school district taxes are frozen permanently at 65. They can't go up. Even as your home value increases over time, your school taxes stay locked. One of the rare times in life where the number just stops calling you back. According to Williamson County's official government website, that 2025 legislation represents the largest expansion of senior property tax in Texas history. Let's compare that with a retiree on a fixed income dealing in a higher cost state where property tax continue to increase alongside home value and where the state takes a cut of retirement income on top of it. It's a financial equivalent of running on a treadmill that keeps quietly speeding up. For the right buyer, Georgetown can represent a genuine financial upgrade. Not just a lateral move to a cheaper market, but a structurally smarter financial position. And in Sun City, median prices are right around $374,000. Citywide in Georgetown, median price about $413,000. For someone selling a home in a market like California, these numbers often mean a clean cash purchase with no mortgage and a monthly cost of living that looks very different from anything they've experienced in decades. This might take a minute to actually believe, but it is true. Now, a lot of retirees moving from a higher cost state thinks that property taxes will cancel out the savings. But when you understand how the school tax freeze and the combined $200,000 exemption actually work together, the math looks completely different, even if you're buying cash with equity from a home sale. You can get a lot more information on this. Just download my Ultimate Retirement Guide for Georgetown, Texas. It's in the description below, no hassle, no obligation. It's got the information that will allow you to run the real numbers for your situation. One of the most common concerns I hear from retirees doing their research is healthcare, and it's a legitimate one. You're making a permanent move, and you want to know that if something goes wrong medically, you're not 2 hours from a decent hospital. Georgetown, Texas's answer to that question is stronger than most people expect. St. David's Georgetown Hospital is right here in Georgetown. It's got over 100 patient beds, a level 4 trauma center, a certified primary stroke center, and a certified chest pain center. As of December 25, they completed their $4.6 million expansion, specifically adding a new operating room designed for robotic surgery. So yes, in case you were wondering, the robots have arrived in Georgetown, and they're here to help. St. David's also received the 2026 Patient Safety Excellence Award, which covers the entire St. David's healthcare network. And beyond St. David's, you have Baylor Scott & White and Ascension Seton, all operating clinics and facilities within Georgetown and Regency County. This isn't a small town healthcare situation. Georgetown has grown fast enough and attracted enough residents that medical infrastructure has had to keep pace. Nobody builds a robotic surgery suite for a town that's staying quiet. For most retirees in good general health who need standard ongoing care, primary care, special visits, cardiac monitoring, orthopedic follow-ups, Georgetown has just what you need right here. But let me share the straight scoop. If you have a complex ongoing condition that requires highly specialized care, certain cancer treatments, advanced neurological care, specific surgical subspecialties, you're probably going to need to make trips into Austin to larger medical centers there. Downtown Austin is about 30 to 50 minutes away, depending on traffic, or well over an hour to an hour and a half in rush hour. and if there's a UT football game. That's not impossible, but it's a real consideration. For most healthy retirees, Georgetown's medical access is a genuine selling point. For someone managing a serious ongoing condition who needs specialty care, it's a conversation worth having before you commit to a zip code. The first person who consistently struggles here is what I call the urban walker. This is a retiree who spent years in a city neighborhood where they could walk to the coffee shop in the morning, walk to a restaurant for lunch, walk to the farmer's market on the weekend. Their car sat in the garage 3 days a week because they simply didn't need it. Georgetown just is not that kind of place. Walk Score describes Georgetown with one phrase: almost all errands require a car. Sun City in particular is designed as an inward-facing community. It's intentional, creates a protected, peaceful environment. But it also means there's no grocery store inside Sun City. There are only a couple of restaurants within the community, so for daily essentials, you're driving several miles out. A carton of milk is not walking distance, and neither is much else. The fabulous town square in historic downtown Georgetown is genuinely charming and walkable. Within a few blocks, there are over 90 shops and restaurants around the square. It's got small town character and people love it. If your retirement vision includes walking everywhere as a daily habit, if that's tied to your physical health, your mental health, your sense of freedom, then Georgetown might feel like a significant adjustment. Not a terrible one, but a real one. A lot of people from other parts of the country tell me the car-dependent lifestyle is the hardest part of their transition. It's not the heat or the move itself, it's just the fact that they drive everywhere now. Apparently, the last thing to adjust to retirement is the commute you thought you retired from. If you're someone who would struggle with that, it's better to know it before you buy than after. So here's the type of person we want to discuss: the heat-intolerant retiree. This catches people off guard more than probably anything else I've seen in my well over 3 decades here. People research Georgetown, they see the mild winters, beautiful springs and falls. They hear about the 10 to 11 months of outdoor living. They picture something like Southern California: sunny, breezy, warm, a gentle climate. Then they experience their first summer in Georgetown. Average high in August is around 99 degrees. Yes, several days over 100 are to be certain. The important part that people miss, the part I always make sure to tell people, is that it drops to around 76 at night. There's really no relief during that time of the year. You walk outside at 9 p.m. and it still feels like you're standing in front of your oven. It's not just the temperature. Although we have a mediocre amount of humidity compared to, say, Houston, we do have increased humidity at certain times during the summer. It's not impossible to handle, but it could be difficult enough that your outdoor lifestyle simply goes on hold for about 90 days. So just think of it as a long, sweaty intermission. For people coming from milder climates, where summer is what you live for and the rest of the year is just waiting for it, this could feel like a reversal. You come to Georgetown, Texas because you want to be outside more. And then for that portion of the year, when you're used to being outside, the heat keeps you inside. You could spend that time plotting your revenge against whoever told you that Texas summers or dry heat. The flip side of that is real too. Central Texas winters are short and mild. You'll have maybe a handful of cold days of rare ice events that shut down the city, and then it's over. By February, you're outside again. So on an annual basis, the outdoor calculation still works in Georgetown's favor for most people from colder weather states. Again, fall, spring, winter, wonderful times in Georgetown, Texas. But the summer is something you should experience before you make a permanent decision. Admittedly, a lot of agents won't share that with you, but I do because I've seen people move here in October, fall in love with the fall and the winter and the spring, and then spend the first summer here wondering exactly what they signed up for. So come visit in July. If you can handle Georgetown in July, you can handle Georgetown. The retiree who moves here and won't plug in is a personality type I want to talk about because it's really kind of the hardest to describe. But in my experience, might be the one that's most important to identify. Georgetown is a community that rewards participation. It doesn't really deliver community right to your door. What I mean by that is Sun City has over 145 clubs and interest groups. That's concerts and events and golf leagues and fitness classes. It's really a genuinely extraordinary infrastructure for social connection. But that infrastructure is opt-in. Nobody rings your doorbell and invites you to join their club. There aren't committee members showing up with casseroles and clipboards and asking to put your name on the list. I've worked with retirees who moved to Sun City, had everything available to them, and stayed mostly at home, watched TV, talked to their kids, and a few years later described the feeling of Sun City as being more isolated than when they lived in the previous state that they moved from. Quite honestly, that's not really Georgetown's fault, but it is a reality. Retirees who struggle with isolation here tend to share a few common traits. They moved here without really knowing anybody, and they kind of expected the community to come to them. Or maybe they were half of a couple who drove the social energy, and when that person passed or their health changed, the other partner really had no independent social foundation to fall back on. There's a practical layer to this too. Sun City sits about 10 miles from the town square, that beautiful Georgetown down square that's so famous. Downtown Austin is about 35 to 45 minutes away, depending on traffic. If your adult children live in another state and your plan was to be closer to Austin Metro generally, you should factor in that near Austin and Georgetown still means a distance. When you need to get to the airport or specific specialists or just have dinner with family, there's still some heavy lifting to do in the way of commuting. Georgetown is a spectacular place to retire if you're someone who will walk into a room, join a club, introduce yourself, sign up, build a life. If you're counting on people to come to you and build itself around you, that's a little bit unlikely. So here's my blunt summary after well over 3 decades in Georgetown, Texas. Georgetown has crossed over 100,000 residents, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. It was named the fastest growing city 2 years in a row. An award that I'm pretty sure doesn't come with a parade, but it should, because Georgetown has stayed Georgetown. Despite the fact that there are over 22,000 seniors living right here, this is not a sleepy little retirement town. It just happened to get popular by accident. It's a city that has specifically built itself into one of the most compelling retirement destinations in the country, while still providing a great environment for people of all ages. But that doesn't mean it's right for everyone. The person who thrives in Georgetown is active. They get outside. The occasional argument at the HOA meeting. They're financially savvy enough to understand what the Texas tax structure means for their long-term financial picture. They have a realistic relationship with the summer heat, or they're willing to develop one. You know, the way you develop a relationship with an in-law that you didn't choose, but you've learned to live with. And they're ready to build a new life here, not just move into an existing one. Those who struggle here tend to want walkable urban density, and Georgetown just doesn't offer that. If your dream involves hailing a cab, this just doesn't it. Or they move in without a social game plan and kind of expect the community to do the work for them. Or they underestimate the summer and spend 3 or 4 months resenting the decision they made back in October. Now, a lot of agents sell Georgetown, Texas, but not many truly understand Georgetown, Texas real estate. It's 5 micro markets, the communities, the neighborhoods, the financial structure, the lifestyle. And the honest conversation I try to have with anyone interested in Georgetown is not that is Georgetown a good place to retire, but is Georgetown the right fit for the specific life you want to live? And that's a question I hope to help you answer. So if you'd like to visit more about the possibilities of your lifestyle in Georgetown, call or text. I'm a little old-fashioned. I do respond to all my calls and texts personally. Or you can book an appointment with the link below. If you're not quite ready to have that conversation, download the Ultimate Georgetown, Texas Retirement Guide. It's packed with information that should answer most of the questions you're going to have. Remember, it's your choice, so make it a powerful day.